Hi everyone, my name's Alice. Welcome to the Hampton by Hilton Sheffield bar. So we're just going to do a quick how-to of how to pour some of our draft products that we have. So first of all, we'll start off. We've got a relatively newcomer to our bar, which is quite popular already. So this is the Camden Stout. It's a little bit like a Guinness, but it's a lot lighter, more vanilla-y, a bit more flavourful. So with it being a stout, you want a slow pour. So get a cool, clean glass, and what you want to do, hold it at a 45-degree angle, and then just allow it to pour until it's about 2/3 to 3/4 full. And then what you want to do is when we get to that point, just start to straighten the glass a bit, and then stop your pour and just let it sit and settle. So you can see that the beer is starting to separate. So you've got a nice creamy head on top, which is distinctive for a stout, and then the dark beer at the bottom. So as that settles up, you just want to leave it for the time being. And then once you've got a nice thick head, so we'll just be waiting a little bit longer on that, then you can pour the rest of it. Lovely. So as you can see now, we've had time for the beer to settle. So all that's left to do is to top up the rest of the pint. So you can do this either by pouring it forwards or pushing the tap backwards. Pushing the tap backwards does flatten the pipe inside a little bit, so you might need to be careful of that. Lovely stuff. And then we just want to serve that to our guest. There we go. Okay, so next of all, we've got our Cockburg Crisp Apple, which is a really nice summery drink. So cider's a really straightforward pour. It's a fairly slow dispense. You don't really need much of a head on a cider. So again, 45-degree angle. You can always put the glass closer to the nozzle if you need to reduce the head a little bit. That's it, and then start to straighten the glass as it comes towards the top. There we go, and then down. That's your cider. Okay, so next we've got my favourite, which is the Camden Pale, which is a nice craft ale. So same brewery as the stout, but this is lighter in colour and hoppier. So this is a little bit more of a lively beer, so you do need to be careful when you first dispense it. So again, that 45-degree angle. Just pull it down again. So you want to get a little bit more of a head on this. So the further away the nozzle is from the glass, the more air that can get in. So that creates the bubbles. There we are. There we are. So that's a nice pint of the pale. Again, served to your guest. So now we've got Spanish Mau or Mahu or Mahau. No one is ever entirely sure how to pronounce it. Nice light lager. So this, again, is a little bit of a livelier pour. The glasses are nucleated, so they keep the head nice and they keep the beer moving throughout the drink that the guests will have. So once again, that 45-degree angle, straight down. And then this pretty much forms itself with having the nucleated glass. I think you asked me more next. There we go. Nice to the top. It's always worth just popping it down a minute to make sure that it doesn't overflow. There we are. And again to your guest who's having a very good round this evening. Okay, so last but not least, we've got Stella, another lager. Again, can be a little bit of a lively flow. So what I would do is start again, 45-degree angle. Drop it quite low to start off with because that creates your head. You've got the nucleation in the bottom of the glass, so that will help you along the way with it. And then as the head starts to form, just bring the pint glass up a little bit. That stops any overspill as the glass gets more full. So because the head's going to continue to form, we'll stop that a little bit short. And then as you can see, the bubbles start to rise. And that's your head formed. Lovely stuff. Nice pint of Stella. Okay, so a few hints and tips while you're pouring your pints. So the first one is you might have a guest that says, please use the same pint glass if they're ordering the same drink again, which for the guest is fine, but for us, not so much. The nozzle will come into contact with the dirty glass, which can cause some cross-contamination. So it's always best practice to use a clean, dry glass, and you just explain this to the guest. I'm sure they'll be fine with that. The next thing is sometimes you might get a pint that's very lively, so it overflows. So if that happens, stop pouring, allow it just to settle, pour any excess away, and then just top it up. Never ever run your hands around the outside of the pint glass again, because that's the same problem with the cross-contamination. Okay, and the last one is if you find you've got a small head on your pint, don't be tempted to swirl the glass, as this can affect the quality of the beer and it can actually make it go flatter. So again, what I would do is just stop pouring, pull the glass a little bit further away, and then dispense again, because again, having that little bit of air between will allow you to drop more in, so you'll get more bubbles against it. I think that's everything from me imparting my tips today. So thanks very much and see you again soon.